Good afternoon. Wageningen. It's the city of life sciences. Now, I can't quite say I agree with the city part, but for life sciences, it really is the place to be. People come here from all over the world to do all sorts of things: biology, agriculture, food, and a word I'm sure none of you have ever heard before in your lives: sustainability. But what is the meaning of all these things? Why are we doing all these things here in Wageningen? Well, there are two big challenges that we're facing, and those two challenges are our resource management and our health. Most people here, in some way or another, are working on these two challenges. And it makes sense that we're doing that, because life is the answer. Not only that, life is the only thing that can connect one challenge to the other. So, on one side we have our resource management, and on the other side we have our health. Let's start with resource management. These days, everyone seems to be going on about the circular economy. The idea is that one man's trash becomes another man's treasure, and so by reusing things, we can live in harmony with nature. But the thing is, nature is not a circle. Sure, on a small scale, it certainly looks like one. Let's take an example: a sheep in a field. The sheep takes up grass, eats grass, taking up nutrients, carbon, other things, and when it dies, all of these things get released back into the environment. What happens next? Well, nutrients and the carbon get absorbed again by plants. Circle closed. But there's a lot more going on. Let's step away from the circle and zoom out, going back a few billion years to the beginning of life itself. First, there was nothing. Then came molecules that could do one special thing: make copies of themselves. Then came cells, then came multicellular organisms, and here we are today with all the different kingdoms: sheep and grass and much, much more. What happened? Life increased in its ability to take up inputs. Life increased in its ability to accumulate energy. And most importantly, life increased in complexity. That's not a circle. That's an open, ever-increasing spiral. Now, by now you might be thinking, well, who cares? It could be a circle, it could be a spiral, it could be a dodecahedron, it's all quite trivial. Fair enough. But the spiral teaches us a few things about life. Let's go back to the idea of the circular economy without life, and let's take the example of this shirt. At the end of its life, this shirt's going to be recycled, hopefully, turned into a new piece of cloth, perhaps a biofuel, something like that. But whatever happens, there's always going to be some loss, and there's always a decrease in complexity. And that's why life comes in, because life is the only thing that can properly upcycle. Without life, recycling is downcycling. Life upcycles, and that's why life is the answer to our resource management. So what about our health? Well, Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, said, "Let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food." Food is a cornerstone of health. Of course, it's not the only thing, but get food right, and we're already doing very well. Food is energy, and it's nutrients, but it's a lot more than that as well. The food we eat gives our bodies information. There are mechanisms in our bodies called epigenetics, and what epigenetics does is it takes information from the environment, from things such as food, and changes the way our genes are expressed. The bottom line is this: give your bodies the right food and you will enjoy better health. Now, unfortunately, for the past 3 generations, we have been departing from this, from traditional cuisine. We've been eating more and more things foreign to our biology: seed oils, refined sugar, and much, much more. And that's led to an increase in chronic health issues. Not only that, but the food we eat is less nutritious than it used to be. Sure, we've become really, really good at maximizing yield, getting more and more tons per acre, and that's a wonderful thing. But the food we're eating contains fewer vitamins and less nutrients than it did in the past. So what do health-conscious individuals do if we want to then improve our health through nutrition? Well, there is a way to do that, which is supplements or pills, except these are vastly inferior. Let's take the example of vitamins. Vitamins are very complex things, and one vitamin can come in many, many different forms, these forms being called isomers. And the problem with a pill or a supplement is that it only contains a fraction of all these isomers that are available to us. And not only that, it contains isomers that are completely unnatural and that would never occur otherwise. So who knows what happens there? Secondly, supplements by definition only contain that nutrient we're interested in, right? And they don't contain much else. Whereas real food contains the nutrient we're interested in, but all sorts of other nutrients and all sorts of other things around that. And all these things interact together in complex ways that aren't quite understood yet, but are crucial to our biology and give our bodies the right information. In short, food is information, and life is the only thing that can supply that organized complexity to give us the information our bodies need. And that's why life is the answer to our health. So, we've seen that life is the answer to our resource management. It's the only thing that can upcycle waste. And we've seen that life is the answer to our health. It gives our bodies the right information. How are we going to apply this? Well, there are lots and lots of ways, and we're all working on them here in Wageningen. But today I'd like to end this talk by introducing you to Amy. Amy's not a person, it's AMI. Stands for Aquaponics, Mushrooms and Insects. And as life should, it starts with waste and it ends in high quality food. How does Amy work? Well, it starts with waste. And waste is, well, a waste of lots of things, of money, of time, of resources, but fundamentally, physically, it's a waste of energy and nutrients. That's what it contains, and that's where the potential lies. What normally happens with organic waste? Well, it might get incinerated, it might get composted, but the problem there is that all that potential gets released into the environment, and, well, that's a big waste. So what can we do with that? Well, that's where Amy comes in. It starts with insects. We can feed organic waste to insects, and in this way, produce protein. And the best insect for the job is the mighty black soldier fly. These are fantastic creatures, and what they do is they take virtually any form of organic waste and turn it into larvae, good protein. So what do we do with the larvae? Well, there are many things. You could feed them to human beings, and I've tried them, but it's not really a culinary experience I would recommend. So we've got to find another use for them. But luckily, we're not the only animals out there. There are fish, and fish love black soldier flies. So that's what we do. We give the black soldier flies to fish. Now, the next step happens because fish are nowhere near 100% efficient with the nutrients they get. A lot gets released back into the water, and that's where the next opportunity comes, because this water, full of nutrients, can be pumped to plants. Now, that's a combination that's fairly old. It's called aquaponics, combining fish with plants, and it's very effective. So now we're using our waste, producing larvae, fish, and vegetables. The last piece of the puzzle is that you may have heard me mention mushrooms. Where do they come in? Well, there's one form of life, there's one form of waste rather, that cannot be processed by insects, by fish, or by plants, and that is lignocellulose, this woody, fibrous material that comes from plants. And that's where mushrooms come in, because mushrooms have special enzymes that can break this down and turn it, at the same time, into mushrooms. So wonderful. To recap, we feed waste to insects, feed those larvae to fish, give the water to plants, and any residual lignocellulose goes to mushrooms. And that's how we can use ecosystems thinking to produce food. Of course, there are lots and lots of configurations of Amy. You could use algae, shrimp, you could use worms, all sorts of combinations are possible, but that's the approach. Of course, none of this is new. It's all been done for, well, billions of years. It's what life has been doing. Our job here, though, is to apply this, because life is the answer. Thank you.